following Baseplan Presents video features how to purchase and induct new assets in less than 90 seconds, focusing on the following areas: setting up preferred vendors, buy prices and depreciation schedules, sending a request for quote to vendors and tracking outstanding requests, converting vendor quotes to purchase orders, receipting purchase orders and automatically creating rental equipment and assets.
We're currently looking at the home screen of Baseplan, and before we kick things off, I actually want to show you that I can purchase new assets and equipment and induct them into the system in less than 90 seconds. Now, we're going to skip through all the preparation work and show you what the end result looks like, and then we can work backwards from there. So I'm going to go to what we call our RFQ module, or the request for quote screen, and I've already got one prepped down the bottom here. So I've already created an RFQ record that's pending for the conversion to a purchase order, and we're going to go through that process. So I'm going to go up here to actions, and as soon as I click purchase order, we're going to get the clock to start. So clock starts now. So I've now converted this to a purchase order, and that's going to update my tab automatically here. So it's created an open purchase order. I can double click on that, and that'll take me through to that purchase order automatically. I can then confirm this purchase order and enter in my initials. Once that's confirmed, I can email that off to the vendor. I can go back here, and we're basically waiting for that piece of equipment to arrive. When it does arrive, I can enter in the RFQ number. So RFQ number is 130 as per down here. And when I filter, it's going to show me all the lines that I need a receipt against that. And I can update the purchase order number. So it's 200-334. And that's going to unlock these fields. I can double click on the specs and see the specs that are being pulled through automatically. I can update the quantity that we're actually receiving. I can update the serial number and any other information that we want as well that relates to the specs. And I can tab through and update the date that we're actually inducting the asset as well. Once that's done, I can confirm the quantity that we're receiving and hit confirm. And once I hit my initials, that'll create an automatic PO receipt. And if we went back into our RFQ module, we could then refilter this and see the equipment and assets that it's created automatically. So I go to assets, it would show me all the lines that it's created. I could double click on that asset and I can see the details of the asset. And then I can also see the equipment that it's created automatically on the right and go into that record as well. We can see here there is now a piece of equipment ready for rent. So that was probably pretty confusing because I went through it so quick, but the whole purpose of that was to show you how fast I can actually automate a lot of those steps when we've already got the configuration and the workflow set up. So we're going to go back and actually show you how we can actually configure the system and actually some of the steps that you can actually follow to execute this, and what are some of the benefits as well. So we're going to go back to the home screen here, and we're going to type in here our make model screen. That's really where the core of it starts. So we can type in the type of equipment that we want to purchase, and it was an excavator that we're looking at before, and I think we had the 336 FL. So you can see here I've got my excavator, my Caterpillar, and my model here. Now we can, down the bottom in this purchase information section, we can set this up as a preferred purchase, and we can say what the vendor is and the price, and also what the depreciation schedule is going to be when we do induct these assets automatically into the system. So when I go to my RFQ module, if I was to start a fresh one and click on add new, it basically wants to know what type of equipment do we want to purchase. So I can say, well, we want to purchase an excavator, and we want to choose the different models that we can choose from as well. And we can see here this 336 FL is coming through as the preferred model. So we can choose that one. We can update the manufactured warranty that comes along with it. And we can also choose the quantity. So the beauty of this is when we do our receipting, it doesn't matter if we've got 1 or if we've got 50. The creation of the assets and the equipment automatically happens. So that's the real time saver in that instance. So we can do 2 in this instance. And we can default our account codes automatically, but we can also change these around and depending on what security levels we have. And we can hit save. And when we hit save, you'll see here I've got my line of the excavator that I want to order, and it gives me all the different. So if I also choose another vendor, it will give me all the different companies that are potentially going to provide us quotes for equipment. And you can see here, I've got this selected and it hasn't been sent yet. But I can go up to actions and I can say, I want to send the RFQ. And when I click send, it's going to create an email and send it off to the vendors automatically, basically requesting for a quote. And you can see here a box has popped up and I can type in the email address of the person I potentially want to send it to. I'll send it to myself. And we can hit send. Now you'll see here the status of the RFQ updates to sent, and we can see here that the flag has been ticked automatically as well. Now we can actually go up here and see all the different outstanding requests that we've created in the past and what we're waiting for. So we're waiting for these companies to come back with quotes so then we can update potentially the pricing or any other information that goes along with it. And then we can choose which one of those quotes we want to convert to a purchase order, essentially. So we can go back here, and before we convert it to a purchase order, we basically want to allocate the equipment and asset codes on a holding pattern. So what this is going to do is it's going to put a hold on that equipment. So when we confirm and receipt the purchase order, it's going to take those and create them automatically. So I can hit allocate. And that'll generate a report for us as well. We can have an induction form for those particular assets. If we go back here, we can see the status is now allocated. We're basically at the same point that we were just before. So we can go up here and then start converting this to purchase orders. Or if we wanted to, we can actually just copy a previous RFQ. So we want to purchase another lot of equipment, we can just copy this RFQ rather than starting from scratch. So I can convert this to a purchase order. And it gets set as converted, and the purchase order appears in this tab here. So straight away, we can just double click on this and it will take me through to that particular purchase order. And depending on what my security is, I could then approve this and get it sent over to the vendor for approval. So we can hit confirm. And I do have the right authority here, but if I didn't, I would need to get the authority by someone else. We might want to use our workflow system that sends emails off to the person that does have the right PO limit in the system. That status changes to confirmed up here. And we've got the two detail lines of the excavators that we're purchasing. And we might want to email the purchase order to the vendor as well. If we go back one screen, so basically we've done the purchase order and we're waiting for somebody to receipt those goods when they actually arrive. Now, as part of this process, you probably saw how I sent the RFQ to the vendor. We also have the ability to send those RFQ requests out to the branches, because maybe you want to give your branches the purchasing power for their different locations as well. So there's a couple of different configurations we can actually set up in the system. Now, if we go down to our purchase receipt, like we did before, so basically the way we want to do this filtering is you want to type in the RFQ number that you want to look at. So we can see down here in the bottom, it says 131. So I can type in 131. Now maybe you don't have that RFQ number. You could also, when you get the actual piece of equipment, it should have your purchase order number on that invoice, and you should be typing in that PO number so it matches. So you can type in 200 235. And I know that purchase order number because it's appearing in this grid right here. Well, as I said before, when we click on that, it's going to open up this section, and we can double click on this specs. And these specs are also getting pulled automatically from that make model screen. So we can update the spec information, or we can add to it as we induct assets, and that'll apply automatically to all the equipment that we actually purchased. We can put in the quantity we're receiving. We can update the serial number of whatever it might be. And you probably saw before that I can double click on these lines as well and add more information. I can also update the date that we're receiving it. We can do the second line as well. You can see here, so we can put the serial number in, but we can also, so you can see the warranty is pulled through automatically, but we might have some other information that we might want to update in the system. We can update the induct, so maybe we're only receiving one of the assets today because only half of them arrived. Maybe we want to delay it later on. And we need to confirm the quantity that we've entered has matched against the quantity that we're actually receiving. Now that'll allow me to confirm this receipt. And this is really where the magic happens. It doesn't matter if it's 1 or if it's 50, it's going to create those assets automatically. So I hit OK, the receipt gets created, And if we go back to our RFQ module like we had before and go view, we can view the assets that have been created. So the 2 assets have been created automatically with those serial numbers, and we can double click on any of those and then start drilling into more data. So we can see the purchase price and all that information, the original purchase order, the receipt, and then what it's linked to in terms of the equipment. And we can double click on that and actually see the piece of equipment that's available for rent as well. Now we have some parameters in the system that can actually put a hold on this. So it basically says that once that receipt happens, someone needs to manually activate the asset, so it won't be available for rent until that occurs. It really depends on what your process is and how you want to manage that. But really purchasing your equipment, in particular your rental equipment through this way, will really save a lot of time in manually creating equipment and purchase orders and assets and receipts and all that sort of stuff, because it really is just automated. And that just about wraps up today's session. If you have any ideas on future topics or you have any questions, please leave a comment below. I look forward to seeing everyone in a future Baseplan Presents webinar.